So it seems like a huge bummer because you got into this because you love music, and what you're really doing is basically selling insurance and credit cards.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Okay. Got my stress gripper on this one. About a month and a half ago, put out a video on Guitar Center when their new financials got released and their credit score dropped and all that stuff. And basically it sparked a whole lot of conversation in the comments about like everybody's anecdotal experience about what happens in Guitar Center. It wasn't that long after the video, I was approached by somebody who actually works at Guitar Center. And we had a long conversation back and forth. Really cool person, really good heart. Through the conversations we had, got to the point where they mentioned they would be happy to go on camera and talk about how they see it from the sales perspective of people working at Guitar Center. This in no way reflects the views of Guitar Center. This is not meant to be a hit piece. Someone wanted to share their experience and their frustration from their perspective, given that not just my channel put out a video, but a lot of channels have put out videos surrounding frustrations with Guitar Center. And this person wanted you to hear from a salesperson what they see. And maybe you can see the other side of the story, because after all, there's two sides to every story. No one is sponsoring this video. This is not meant to be anything in particular. This is just a YouTuber talking to someone who says they have anecdotal experience that happens to be pertinent to a topic that I've discussed in the past. Take it with a grain of salt, but we do touch on some interesting topics, and it's good to hear from somebody who has experience with that market. So let's get right to it. So we've been talking back and forth for like 2 months at this point.
Yeah,
I think.
Roughly.
So you saw the video I put out on Guitar Center, and you immediately reached out and you wanted to clarify some things and say it from your perspective. So real quick, I'll just give you the floor. Like, what are you hoping to communicate here?
So, Guitar Center has this really bad reputation in the community of pretty much any musician you talk to. And I'm not here to entirely defend the company because they have their faults, but I'd like to put some reasoning out there so people can understand what's going on. It's not me ragging on the company either. I'm more here to just shed some light on some things and get the word out there so maybe some change happens, basically.
So you saw my take on what's happened.
Yes.
Like, what do you think it was accurate? Do you think I was off base with certain things? Like, what's your take there?
It's been a while since I've seen it, so I don't entirely remember what was said. But I do know that I remember kind of agreeing a little bit, and we're not the only ones. There's a lot of Guitar Center customers and people who come in on a daily basis who are just feeling the same way. Like, it's not the same company it used to be, if that makes any sense. It's a lot more corporate now, as opposed to the underground, music company it started as. And it's upsetting a lot of people.
How long have you been a part of the company?
Around 2.5 years now.
So you've kind of been there for the back half of all this stuff, but
Exactly.
It sounds like you were a consumer and at least you knew what it used to be.
Exactly, yeah. I used to shop there all the time. I remember going there as a kid and being able to do a bunch of stuff. And I mean, obviously I wasn't buying anything. I was like 8, but it was just a cool environment to be in. Pretty much everybody knew everything about anything you bought. You go to the right department, you get the right person, and they could talk for hours. And our store, I think, is getting back to that point, but for a while it wasn't like that. And a lot of stores just weren't like that. Back when I lived where I used to live, I would go to our local Guitar Center there and go into the pro audio department because I was trying to start a studio, get everything bought and set up, and the dude just had no idea what was happening the whole time. And it wasn't like it was just a new hire or anything. He was always there. He didn't understand it. Pretty much anything about pro audio.
And that's kind of been my experience as well, because I remember it being a place where you could go and everybody was so cool. And I grew up in a place where like there were a handful of mom and pop places, but there really wasn't a place you could go and try a wall of guitars. It was that spot. And I know like everybody memes it, and there's like nostalgia there for like a select few of us who didn't have access to places like that. And then to see that decline and that change, I mean, maybe it's a mixture of me getting older but I mean, it's hard to not see some changes going on. How much of that is top down, or is it a problem like general employees, like from the bottom up? Like, are the employees not necessarily educated to the point where they can help, even if they wanted to? I don't want to bash anybody, because I know people who want to do a good job, and I've witnessed that, but it seems like overarching there's some issue there. Like, can you pinpoint what that is?
I think it's a mixture of both, but it's like 70-30. 70 top down, 30% employees not really knowing what they're doing. Because if we had proper training, it wouldn't be an issue. Now, Guitar Center has this beautiful thing called Learning Studio, and they give us lessons and such, but most of it's expected to already be known when you enter the job, which is a good thing when you actually hire people that fit that description. But there are some people who do end up getting hired because they have previous work history with places, and, you know, they're a good employee, but they just don't know a lot about the industry. And there's not really a training outlet for those people to learn the stuff they want to, besides going home after their 8-hour shift, just skipping out on spending time with their family or their personal life, and just sitting on YouTube and watching videos about it. That's
interesting. Like, that seems like horribly full circle. So there's not a whole lot of internal training?
Not a lot, no. I mean, when I got hired, I was basically thrown on the sales floor and told, figure it out. There was training. It was more along the lines of sales training versus knowledge training, which I feel like the sales will come if you have the knowledge. So,
right.
I don't know why that wasn't a thing.
I mean, so much of music gear is good. It's more about finding which good piece works well for this one person.
Exactly.
This is totally my own opinion, and I think at this point we should say, like, whatever I'm saying, clearly whatever you're saying is not the view of Guitar Center as a whole.
Oh, definitely.
These are our own words. We are not speaking for anyone. No legal advice, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly. This is definitely my take on what's happening, at least. Being there for a little bit and seeing internally what's going on.
So is there like a frustration at the employee level? Do you see within your peers, is there like a similar frustration there?
Oh, definitely. I know people that are frustrated because there's a few things that happened in the last few months that kind of screwed over our salespeople a little bit. People that were making a decent amount off a commission, they changed the commission. So you basically make less now. Even if you're selling the same amount, it's weird. But we have new hires who are highly frustrated because they came in before the change and they were doing okay because, you know, it was attainable. But now with the way that they have changed it, you have to hit a ridiculous sales number to even make commission anymore. And they don't have the knowledge because they weren't trained. And we're trying to help them. Like, store level is probably the best thing that Guitar Center has staff-wise. Almost every store manager I've met is fantastic. Almost every customer service manager I've met is fantastic. And then the employees learn off of them. But if there was any training at all, I feel like the frustration for the employees would be out the window because they know what they need to sell to the person that walks in the door asking for their first recording studio with a set of monitors and a decent microphone. If I told that to one of my new hires 2 weeks ago, I gave them that situation, he would have looked at me like I was dumb. He wouldn't have understood. And it's not his fault. Nobody taught him that.
So that seems to make a lot of sense. Like, because even anecdotally, people commenting on that video that I did, there seems to be frustration and at least a common thread of, I feel like I'm annoying the salesperson that I'm talking to.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm wasting their time. Lower commissions, when you're used to making a certain amount, I could definitely see that employee being frustrated.
And that's something I brought up in our conversation back and forth was, I don't think that you're necessarily annoying the salesperson, but now that they're making less money at least in the last few months, they don't feel as though if you're going to spend a certain amount, they should spend much time with you because they can't if they want to pay their bills. It's sad because I'd love to sit there and spend an hour and a half, 2 hours with somebody getting them the perfect gear, but at the same time, I gotta pay my water bill,
Oh man, that sucks. I mean, even like from your perspective, it's even just in our own conversations, like you seem like a really good person. Like I'm saying, like I could sit there and nerd out with gear about you, but if you're on the clock, it doesn't behoove you or it doesn't benefit you in any way to try to dig and ask those right questions. Like you just got to tell me something to keep your job. Like
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And that's another thing. Metrics in this job are insane. Like if you aren't meeting metrics, you will get written up. That simple.
And what metrics are they basing things off of?
There's a lot. There's pro coverage sales, which you've probably heard a lot about. You have to maintain a 40% average. With that, there is gear card signups, which is the Guitar Center credit card. Got to get a certain amount of signups for that every day. Actually, the minimum is 1, but they recommend 3 to 5.
That's a lot of credit. That's a whole other thing. I hate that side of it. Anyway, so gear cards, and you need to sell at least 1 a day.
Yeah. And on top of that, you've also got the sales metrics to keep up with. I think the minimum right now to take home 1% commission of all your sales is $350 an hour.
An hour?
Yeah. That used to be the 3% mark. So to put that in perspective, that is a 60% pay cut if you used to hit the 350 mark regularly.
Wow. So, and I mean, I've never worked a sales job in that context before. I've worked in sales, but not in this context. That to me, that seems like a lot of product to be moving, especially for for a Guitar Center where, I mean, you might get a kid coming and buying drumsticks and drum heads and
exactly. Yeah. And then you add in the fact that we're almost always short-staffed. So getting people to the counter just is frustrating. And it's not their fault. I get they need to be helped. We all get they need to be helped. But when it's me and one other dude drowning in phone calls, like 6 customers at the counter, one dude's walking out because he's upset because all he wanted was a pack of strings, it's frustrating for everybody involved.
There's nothing you can do.
Exactly.
How does commissions work? Do you have a certain base pay that you're guaranteed and then commissions on top of that?
Yeah, so that's Guitar Center's defense in that situation is they do pay minimum wage, which again is not livable, it's not great, but at least you're making something while you're there.
Is that like across the board paying minimum wage based on where the location is?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so
they're not doing
state to state, you're even making
different.
Very different. Okay.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of the people having issues or customers having issues are in the southern states because they refuse to, up their pay a little bit. So, yeah, that's the main, frustration for us as employees.
Could you describe, a really good customer interaction that you had recently that, refuel, I guess something that you believe in that you're like, yes, this still works. This is cool. This is why I love the job.
Oh, yeah. I had a gentleman come in the other day who was in my shoes where I was about 5 years ago wanting to start a studio. And we got him out of there with about, I think his budget was $500. We got him one of those PreSonus recording bundles, a decent microphone because the one that comes with it's okay, but we got him something else as well. And I recommended he spend some extra money on some software online because it's going to be cheaper anyway. And he was ecstatic. Everybody was happy. It was a great time. No gear card sign up. He did get coverage on the stuff because he was worried he might break it or his kids might break it, which understandable. So that was a really good thing. And he's come back several times and he's shown me the music he's starting to make. And those kind of interactions make me really happy because if I would have had that help, I feel like I could have gotten a lot farther than where I am now. And that's all I'm trying to do is help people out. But then there's the opposite side of that, where I feel like I'm just shoving sales down someone's throat and there's nothing else I can do because I have to. It's like tug and pull all day, every day. It's a lot to keep up with.
Man, and what's the average like hour range that a typical employee is working there?
If you're a part-timer, which is most of the sales team, you're probably working 4 to 6 hours a day. If you're a manager, you're either working 8 to 10. And they don't do overtime. They almost always refuse to do overtime. So if you go over at all, you kind of just have to dip. You can't stay there.
Oh.
And yeah. And I know our store manager busts his ass all the time. Sorry if you have to censor that, by the way.
Okay.
But he's just constantly working day in, day out. Now, he's learned to do the work-life balance thing, but he told me when he first started he didn't have that. He was just there pretty much all day. So, it depends. And the higher up in the chain you go, store level, they're there doing more work, usually. Like, they're there for longer. But the workload, I feel like, stays the same, employee to employee. Not entirely. Obviously, store managers got more responsibility. So does the customer service manager and the leads. But the salespeople, man, they gotta keep up with a lot as well. If they're not meeting that quota, they're not getting paid.
Even for 1%.
Go ahead.
Like you said, $350 an hour for 1%. Is that like, so you would get commission on that hour? Or do you have to maintain that for an entire day?
Yeah, it's actually done monthly, which is even more stupid. So if you had, say you had a fantastic month for like the first 20 days, but then the last 10 days you tank, that's going to affect your commission check completely. So you could drop from a 3 to 4% down to like a 1 in a few days if you don't keep up with what you're doing. I know people that if they're having a really, really good week or a good month, the last few days they'll just call off because they're scared they're going to drop that. And at that point they're making more money than if they're there anyway.
Wow. So they're really, at a certain point, there's no incentive to do any better.
Exactly. Because the fear is if I'm there longer, it's going to tank my sales.
So even if you were killing it 1 month and you saw like there's a thunderstorm today, I'm not going to go in.
Yeah.
But he's going to show.
That has happened. I have been the only person besides a manager in the store, well, besides another manager in the store, and it has just been crazy all day because the salespeople didn't want to come in because rightfully so, I guess.
So looking at commission, like $350 an hour, and that's 1%. So you'd be making $3.50 on that sale?
Kind of. So it's a percentage of the full sale. So yes, but say somebody who works 40 hours a week per pay period is going to be about 80 hours.
So you're getting paid.
Then you do, yeah, and then we will multiply that by 350. They have to sell, it's not a lot, but $28,000 a month, which, believe it or not, is not a lot, honestly, in that situation. It's not too bad, yeah. The stores that I've been to are very lucrative. They're in good areas, so they make a decent amount of money. But $28,000 a month isn't too bad, but at the same time, they're only making $280 off of that.
Right.
It's not a lot. Compare that to 28,000 times 0.3, that's 840 minimum.
That's
if you do exactly what's, yeah. So that cut really hurt.
And you're not working any less.
Exactly.
Wow. What do you think is fueling that change? Like, did that just happen out of nowhere? Did you guys know it was coming?
Guitar Center corporate is in debt, is the only thing that I can say there. They have been in debt for a very long time. I don't know if you've seen any videos on the history of Guitar Center or anything, but to fill those in who don't know, they were bought out by a company, and they basically still owe most of the money from that. And a lot of those numbers to get the debt paid off are coming from pro coverage sales and extraneous stuff like that because the gear isn't that profitable. That makes any sense? Audio interface, I'd say we get them for like 20% less than what we sell them for. So you're looking at probably 20% margin on that is minimal compared to pro coverage. The margin on that is 100% because you never know if that's actually going to be used. So it's one of those things where I feel like they were trying to save themselves money by not having to pay their salespeople. Genuinely, that's what it feels like. That's not me talking crap or anything. That is to everybody from the people I've talked to, the salespeople I've talked to. That's what it feels like.
So, with all of that, it seems like a huge bummer because you got into this. I imagine most people would have gotten into a job like this because you love music and the creation of music in some way, shape, or form. That's where your passion lies, and then helping people in that aspect. And what you're really doing is basically selling insurance and credit cards.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I've actually found myself distancing myself from music recently. I've just been getting back into it now, but just because going to work, selling all that stuff, and coming home, I don't even want to look at it because I sell it all day and it makes me feel like crap. So I haven't been touching it. I haven't been doing it. And it's sad. That's how a lot of people are at that job too. They'll go home and they'll just bury themselves in video games or something instead of what they used to love doing, which was music. And it sucks.
That does suck, man. I'm sorry for that for you, because I mean, I can't imagine something like that would put that amount like a negative spin on a passion like that. Is that's a bummer. It was Guitar Center, like I know it catches crap because it runs out mom and pop stores, whatever. That aside, it's a very nostalgic place for a lot of people. It kind of instilled that passion for music in a lot of us.
Exactly.
And then to see it turning into just like kind of a money grab. And again, I'm not speaking for the whole part of the company, but what you're saying kind of go right alongside is what seems to be happening. You can only do so much as an employee if your passion is slowly getting sucked away in that moment.
Yeah. And like you were bringing up earlier, there's definitely interactions that bring it back every now and then. There's been hundreds since I've been working there, but there's also on the same hand, it's like corporate is fighting us. So something that I have brought up to management a few times is musician culture. It feels like the company doesn't understand. And one of the biggest parts of musician culture, and as much as anybody hates to argue it, is like getting a good deal.
Yeah.
Right. I think anybody can argue about that. Every musician you will ever meet likes getting a good deal. They make it impossible for us to work deals out. Literally. Discounting is forbidden. We cannot do it. It is not allowed. Unless they have a sale running. If we can maybe throw in a pack of strings or throw in a strap or something or picks, we'll do that because the cost is so little. But like if there's a scratch and dent guitar on the wall, we are encouraged to have them order it online, pay the right price for it, and get a new one if they ask for a discount on that item instead of discounting that item.
That's crazy, because I remember you used to be able to haggle all day in a Guitar Center.
Yeah, you cannot do that anymore. The best thing we can do is we can offer you the gear card, and we can say you'll get 5% back on it and time to pay it off. That's it.
That's a completely different experience from a buying perspective.
It's way more corporate than it is what it used to be.
Is it like that with the used gear side as well?
Used gear is not allowed to be discounted by any employees except store manager or corporate at all.
So the price on the sticker is what you're going to pay unless you get a store manager selling it to you.
That, or like it's been there too long and corporate takes the price down because, it's not selling. Besides that, no, I can't do anything on used gear.
Is there like a systematic markup on used gear? Like if you pay a certain price, it's going to get marked up to this?
Do you mean like the buy-in process and how that typically goes? That's something Guitar Center still has going really well for it. If you go to a pawn shop, which I have done recently, to sell something. They usually give you like 40 to 50% what they're going to sell it for. We try to give 60. So it favors you, and we still make a little bit of money off of it. On top of that, we don't do the GameStop method where they're like, here's $2 cash or $34 in store. This is the one-time discounting is allowed because it's baked into the system. If you trade something in, we'll give you 60%, and then we will also discount a non-already discounted item 10%. So that doesn't include used stuff. It is just new, not already discounted. But that is the strongest point the Guitar Center still has, is I can trade my gear in and upgrade and have a good experience doing so.
Does that make sense for you from the salesman perspective?
Yes. Almost every time someone comes in, I ask them if they have something they would like to upgrade, because if they bring it in, they're going to get a better deal.
That's interesting. That's an interesting take on this whole thing, because that makes it look a lot different. Okay, let's shift gears here. In a perfect world, like, what would you like to see happen in like a Guitar Center to make it make sense for the company as well as you guys selling on the front lines? From your perspective, can you see some things that would help like immediately?
Better training for new employees. Whether they know these stuff or not, I know since I've been working there, I've learned a lot. When I started, I was going through college for this craft and everything, and, you know, I knew a lot, but talking to people and meeting people who have actually done it teaches you more. Being able to have more interactions like that. Maybe they bring a Shure rep in every now and again to teach you about their microphones, or a Sennheiser rep or something, or a Schecter rep for the guitars, you know. And they do occasionally, but I've only ever met 2, and I've been there for 2.5 years.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. On the corporate side, I'd like to see them understand their consumer base a little bit more. Actually start to care about their opinions as well, which I think they are. I genuinely think there's going to be a big shift in the next few years with Guitar Center, because we've started doing a lot of things, copying other companies like Sweetwater, but, you know, if somebody buys something within 7 days, we get a reminder to call them and check on them, make sure everything's good, see if they need any help with anything, see if they needed anything else. We've started doing that recently. Our systems are getting upgraded, so we won't take 6 years to check somebody out at the checkout line. There's a lot of things that they are doing from corporate that make a lot of sense. I would like corporate to stop spending money on things that don't really matter, like the recent logo change. I don't know why they did that. It looks exactly the same. They just discovered the letter G in the alphabet. It's the same thing.
I didn't even realize the logo had changed.
Yeah, they literally added a G. They took the guitar, they moved it to the left, and they put a G there. And I'm pretty sure it was a few $1 million investment. So,
what?
Hey man, I don't know how much they spent, but from what I've heard, they paid a logo designer a decent amount of money. So I'd like to see spending stop on that.
The story, kids. Get into logo design, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'd like them to put a little bit more trust in the employees. I know that can bite a company in the tail, but we are musicians, at least most of us are. We know what the people we're helping want. If I could, like, help the people a little bit more instead of having my hands tied behind my back and not being able to do anything, it would make everybody happier. It would make the salespeople happier. It would make the customers happier. It would make corporate happier, because honestly, I think they'd make a lot more money. It's just an all-around fix is to just treat your customers better. It's all it takes. I feel like that would be common sense, but who knows? I'm not a corporate guy.
No, I was gonna say you say that, but I mean, even the way you're selling yourself as like a salesperson, the way you're speaking is very intelligent, and you have really good insights to the business itself. So I appreciate that.
I wish we had better tools, which, again, they're upgrading our tools right now, but I've been waiting on upgrades for 1.5 years. They've been promising me them for 1.5 years. I'm still working with chip readers that don't have tap to pay. Our store-level stuff, you know how Best Buy went to the whole digital tag thing? So much labor could be saved if they did something similar. there's been so much in the past like 6 months where we're just rescanning and re-putting out paper tags. And I get it. It's what most stores do. And it probably does save a little bit money in the short term, but in the long run, it would help them out a little bit. It would make it easier for the customer too, because they wouldn't have to ask a salesperson what the drumstick costs behind the counter, because it would already be labeled. It's a lot of quality of life stuff. I mean, I hate the idea because it would hurt the salespeople a little bit, but maybe even like for small things like strings or something, put a self-checkout counter there, or innovate your app a little bit and let them pay for it on the app and leave, and just show the receipt on the way out. I mean, Sam's Club does it, Costco does it, Walmart has started doing it. It's not that complicated.
Well, and even if it was like a cost savings portion and they could turn around and reinvest that into sales staff, and you guys are there to help with the larger decisions, like
exactly,
that creates like a customer experience that seems way more conducive to large purchases. Because frankly, and this is not me trying to elevate myself above a typical buyer, but like it's hard for me to go into a Guitar Center. And it's no fault of the person standing there, not their fault at all, but like you can't get information. Like I've literally had a conversation where they've pulled the phone up and read me the features. It's like, this is all stuff I know, man. Like I'll input.
Yeah.
And being able to reinvest that back into you guys would, give you more tools to do what you want to do well anyway.
Exactly. I don't know a single salesperson that I work with that doesn't want to help somebody. Pretty much everyone we have is really good at that because we've trained them by hand, and a lot of frustration. I've seen people from stress in the back crying. Like, it's horrible. So yeah, I just wish corporate was a little bit better. Store level, I think we've got it to the point to where we could improve a lot if we had help. But we don't have help at all. It's basically the whole mentality of corporate is let's pass this down the chain and they can figure it out as they go. That's it. They don't ask before they make decisions. I don't really have contact with anybody higher up in the chain. I can get to other stores very easily. I can get to my store manager, obviously, probably my district manager if I really needed to. But above that, there's like no information. I have their emails, but there's no guarantee they'll respond. It's been frustrating the last few years. So I tried to pass ideas like these up the chain. I've tried to talk to people, and it's either been shut down because people say that they won't listen, or it's been just ignored because an email's been sent and I've never gotten a response. So
that makes it tough. And even once you get beyond a certain amount of steps, that's pretty typical in any company like that. Like,
yeah.
You're just not going to be able to approach a certain amount of people. But it is kind of troubling when it doesn't seem like there's communication within those levels, like from regional district to your own store manager, and that those ideas aren't back and forth. Yeah. That's a bummer. But, man, that's a whole lot of information. It definitely gives context to some of the frustrations that I think I've seen and that some other people have seen when they comment on that particular video. But, I think what I'm taking away from this is, like, you guys are doing your best. Like, it's clear to me you want to do well and you want to do right by people. And just you saying that, like, hey, that's all of us. We're lacking tools. We're lacking training. Like that, it makes a lot of sense. Like looking at it from the outside now. I appreciate you being willing to talk like this, and obviously we're gonna make this all anonymous because we don't want to make him lose his job. But yeah, I guess I'll give you the last word here if you have anything.
I get you guys' frustration. I think everybody that works for Guitar Center understands everybody's frustration. We were customers at one point. We were in your shoes, and we've been there. Work with us. We're trying our best. And take the fight to corporate. Take the fight upward. Yeah, there are some bad stores. There's some bad employees. You're going to get that. It's a retail store. No matter where you go, you're going to have at least 1 to 2% bad experiences. But for the most part, we are trying to be here to help you guys. please express that we need help to someone higher up. Like, that's all we need. I feel like that would actually help you guys out too. So.